Hello, so in this video I decided to put together a quick buying guide for tabletop gamers who are maybe looking to get one of the Bambu Lab printers and they're toying between different ones because obviously there's a lot available now and they've all got random names and stuff like that. So I thought I'd make this video to make it a little bit easier if you are looking to buy one of these machines. And there's a couple of ones in there that I feel like are pointless purchases and we'll come on to that and some reasons why. So first up, let's start with the core Bambu Lab printer to buy if you are looking to get into something for like terrain printing, for example. So basically all of your wargaming terrain and your tabletop terrain and all of that great stuff that I print a lot of. And there's two printers that you probably want to consider. The first one is the Bambu Lab A1 and the second one is the P1S. Now both of these machines are fantastic machines and historically it's been more leaning towards the A1 because it's like their budget machine. But the P1S right now is also a really budget and like value proposition. Now, if you decided between these two, the things that will probably sway you are they both print almost identically. There's very, very little difference between them. However, the P1S takes the cake in a couple of areas. And the first one is it's slightly faster. So it's about 10 to 15% faster. So if speed is something you're worried about, it will give you that. But both machines are still really fast. However, the P1S takes the cake if you are printing in an area where you can't really control the temperature. So for example, I print in a garage, it gets cold, especially in the UK over winter. You're printing in a shed or something like that, and there's any drafts and stuff like that coming through. The P1S is fully enclosed, and it means that it prints pretty much perfectly, even in really, really cold temperatures. The A1 does not. So the A1 is better if you're printing it indoors, for example, in your house where you can control the temperature. And that's when the A1 is still a good contender in this. If you are printing tall objects as well, the P1S is slightly better as well because it is just built in that way. It's far more stable once it gets to those larger heights. However, the A1 can sometimes get a little bit niggly once it gets to those taller prints. It's still a good printer though when it comes to that. However, they are both really, really good machines. You can't go wrong with either one of these. It really comes down to your environment. Printing in the cold, place you can't control the temperature, the P1 is better and it comes much closer to the A1 now than it has historically in the past. Now at this point I will quickly mention one of what I call my pointless purchases and I believe that is the P2S. The P2S is the replacement for the P1S, but because the P1S at the moment is such a good value proposition, it's about £479, it's such a big jump to go up to the P2S. P2S does have some advantages, but when it comes to terrain and printing stuff like that, you're not really going to see a massive amount of those. So I would say stick with either the P1S or the A1. Moving across onto miniatures, and I'm only very briefly going to talk about this because if you're looking to 3D print miniatures, honestly, an FDM printer is probably not the route to go down. You can still get some really, really good results. And if you do insist on having an FDM printer, because maybe you want to print some terrain and stuff like that as well, the A1 Mini is worthwhile having a look at. Pair it with a 0.2mm nozzle, and you can get some really, really impressive results. If you're printing vehicles, for example, or larger models, it still looks fantastic, especially once you throw a primer on the top of it, maybe some filler. These minis can look great. Some people get incredible results from their FDM printer, and the A1 Mini is a really good value proposition. It's the smallest of the bunch, but it is still a really big build plate when it comes to miniatures. Anyway, moving across onto the next one, and that's maybe somebody who's wanting to print large pieces of terrain, maybe some like battle mats and stuff like that, some tabletop tiles, but also wants to be able to print off things like props and cosplay items as well. And that is the H2S. It is the big brother. It's their new machine. It's their biggest machine as well. It has a much larger footprint, much larger print capabilities, but will still give you all of that excellent quality that you get from other machines as well. If you're looking to print things like helmets, props, and just large items in general, or you want to print lots of one thing all on one bed, then it's going to take the cake in that respect. And I don't know why I keep saying take the cake, but apparently I've picked that up somewhere along the line. And that leads me on to, I suppose, my other pointless purchase, or what I say is the pointless purchase, which is the H2D, which is basically their flagship machine, which is still that same big print bed that you'd get on something like the H2S, but it has the dual nozzle on there. So if you're printing a multicolor, ideally that is faster. And if you are doing multi-material printing and multicolor printing, then yes, currently that is the best thing to go for from Bambu Lab. However, we're really close to an announcement of their H2C, which is basically Bambu Lab's new revolutionary color change and multi-material system. They you know, hats off to them for doing this. They announced this a couple of months ago to basically give everyone the heads up that, look, we've got something that's coming out, so you may want to hold off on any purchases if you are looking for multi-material printing. And by all accounts, it's probably going to be something quite big. The H2S and the H2D will be user upgradable to this new system, but you may as well, if that's like your key thing, like you want to have loads of multi-material, you want to have loads of multicolor prints and stuff like that, it's worthwhile just hang fire just that little bit to see what comes out on the market. Honestly, there's not much more to say at this point. I think it really falls into a couple of different categories. Like I said, if it's terrain, it's somewhere between the A1 and the P1S, depending on your environment you're printing in. If you're looking to print things like props and larger pieces of terrain, or lots of bits of terrain that you can put onto one print bed, then the H2S is absolutely the one to be looking at. And then if you're looking for miniatures, I said probably look for a resin printer instead, but that comes with a whole bunch of caveats as well, so maybe not. But if you are looking to print miniatures and maybe some terrain, then the A1 Mini with a 0.2mm nozzle is a really good one to be looking at. Throw out any questions you've got down in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer them, and I'm sure the community will do as well. But to be honest, you can't really go too far wrong with any of these printers. It all comes down to what you're printing. So thanks so much for watching. Fingers crossed that has helped anyone out there who's maybe looking to buy one of these printers, and I will see you in the next one.